Next topic is Hibernate Caching. By the way, I have actually modified the slides as well as hands-on labs as of this morning, so you might want to download the hands-on lab if you have old version of it that has been changed significantly. So make sure you actually download it again. So here we're going to talk about the types of Hibernate cache, and so in fact we're going to look into three different caches, types of cache. First level cache, second level cache, and query cache. And later on we're going to actually also see how we can get statistical data, including these cache statistics. Okay. So types of Hibernate cache. So what is caching? Caching, obviously, it is actually for optimizing database applications. So it's basically for reducing traffic between your application to the database by caching the data that have been already loaded from the database. Okay, so database access is required only when retrieving data that is not currently available in the cache. The application may need to empty or invalidate the cache from time to time if the database is updated or modified in some way, because it doesn't have a way of actually figuring out, if the cache is in fact invalid or not. Meaning, if somebody has changed in different channel, then your application might actually have to invalidate or empty the cache once in a while. Okay, types of Hibernate cache. So for caching objects, so there are two different categories. One is for caching objects, and the other one is for caching a query and its result. So for caching objects, there are two different types: first level cache and the second level cache. And the first level cache is associated with the session object, while the second level cache is associated with session factory object. And I'm going to talk about the differences between these two in the following slide. Okay. By the way, first level cache is enabled by default, and I don't think there is a way that you can turn it off. Okay. Second level cache is something that you have to configure. Okay, so as a default, there is no second level cache enabled. And same thing for query cache. You have to configure query cache. So let's talk about each of these in a bit more detail. First level cache. So this is how the first level, second level cache works. Okay, so for Hibernate session, that is the first level cache. So this is per session, and the second level cache is for session factory. Okay, so it's wider the scope, and the same data could be actually in first level cache as well as in the second level cache. So first level cache is maintained per session, and there are a few APIs that you can use in your application to manipulate it. Session clear, it will remove all entries from the first level cache. Session evict, you specify a particular object, and it will remove a particular entry from the first level cache. And you can also check whether a particular entry is in the first level cache or not by calling contains. So let's see how first level cache works. So first level cache is associated with a session object, and other session object in the application cannot sit. So each session object will have its own first level cache. Okay. The scope of cache object is of session. So once a session is closed, cache the objects are gone forever. Okay. First level cache is enabled by default, and you cannot disable it. Okay, so when we query an entity for the first time, it is retrieved from the database and is stored in the first level cache associated with that session. And if you query the same object again with the same session object, it will be loaded from that first level cache, and there is no SQL query to be executed. So pretty straightforward. And the loaded entity will be removed from the session using evict method. So if you are using evict, it will be removed. Okay. The next loading of this entry will again make a database call if it has been removed using evict call, evict method. And again, the whole session cache could be removed using clear method, and it will remove all entities stored in the cache. All right, so let's do our first exercise, first level cache. Okay, so first level cache, basically we are going to run Hibernate first level cache project. Okay, and basically what we are going to observe, let's actually run this guy to make sure it's running first level cache. Oh, I have an import. So import Maven project, and let's elapse. Oh, it looks like this is the old code. Let me just remove this guy. Yeah, it contains the old one, so I'm gonna actually import from the correct location, and that is okay. So first level cache. So we are going to run the application. And this is what you are going to see. Okay, so let's actually go over the things. So basically we are going to perform a query for the first time. So it will perform a database call to the database. So it will make a select call to the database. Okay, then read it first after. Yeah, so then we are gonna actually read second time after query, and you can see that the product is in the session, is actually in the session, and then we are going to perform eviction. So we're going to call evict. Okay, and then you can, if you try to read it again, it will make another call to the database. Okay, so that's basically what it's doing. So if you take a look at the code, we are going to perform a first query, so it will make a call to the database, and we can actually read it. And then this second read, this is going to read from the first level cache. Okay, so this one should not cause any database call to the database. Okay, and you can certainly check whether that product is in the session or not. Okay, and then we are going to call evict. So now we are bumping that product out from the first level cache. Okay, and now if you actually call the session contains, and it should say false. Okay, so it is basically evict from not only from the cache but from the session itself. Okay, and then if you call the get again, then it will make a call to the database. Okay, and then we can get it again. Okay, and this one should not cause the database call because it's reading from the cache. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Okay, so I'll give you 5 minutes to try this. So that is the first level cache that is always enabled. Now let's move on to second level cache. So second level cache keeps loaded objects at the session factory level across transaction boundaries. So it is being used by all the sessions created from the session factory. So the objects in the second level caches are available to the whole application, not just to the user running the query. So this way, each time query returns an object that is already loaded in the cache, one or more database transactions potentially can be avoided. Okay. The second level cache provider can be pluggable. In fact, there are several third-party implementations available. So this is how things work. This is actually working. This is actually describing how first cache and second level cache work together. So whenever Hibernate session try to load an entity, the very first place it look for cached copy of entity is in the first level cache. So it will try to find it in the first level cache. That makes sense, right? Okay. And if entity is found in the first level cache, it is returned as a result of load or get method. That makes sense. However, if the first level cache does not have that entity, then second level cache is looked up. Again, makes sense, right? So if the second level cache has entity, then it is returned as a load method. Okay, but this is important. But before returning the entity, it is stored in the first level cache. Okay, so that the next invocation to load method for the entity will return from the first cache rather than second cache. Okay. So in a scenario where the cache, entity is only in the second cache when it is actually read, now first level cache is also stocked up in a sense. The entity is going to be cached in the first level cache. Okay, and we're going to actually play around this one later on. Okay. And if entity is not found in the first level cache and also is not found in the second level cache, and then of course database query is going to be performed. Okay, and then the entity is going to be stored in both cache levels. Okay, once it's read from the database, both first level cache and second level cache will have an entity. Okay. Second level cache validates itself for modified entities. So if the modification has been done through Hibernate Session API, so if there is something is modified, then it will invalidate it. Okay. If some user or process make changes directly to the database, there is no way for the second level cache update itself until timeout. Okay. So you can certainly specify timeout for that. Okay. When the time things out, it is a good idea to invalidate the whole cache and let the Hibernate build this cache once again. Alright, so that's how things work with the first level cache and second level cache together. Second level cache implementations. So there are several third-party the cache implementations: eCache, OS Cache, and Swarm Cache, and JBoss 3 Cache. So eCache is fast, lightweight, and easy to use in process cache. So that's the one we are going to use in our hands-on lab. And it supports read-only and read-write caching and memory and disk-based caching. However, it does not support clustering. Okay, so in production and environment, this might not be a good choice. OS Cache is part of the larger package, also provides caching functionalities for JSP pages or arbitrary objects. It is more powerful than eCache. It is a powerful and flexible package which, like eCache, supports read-only and read and write caching and memory and disk level caching. However, it supports the clustering as well. Okay, so in that sense, it's more powerful than eCache. And Swarm Cache is simple cluster-based caching solution based on Java groups. Supports only read-only or non-strict read and write caching. These are all for your information. So JBoss 3 Cache is powerful, replicated, and transactional cache. Use this solution if you really need a true transaction-capable caching architecture. Okay, so second level cache strategies. So you can use read-only, you can use read and write, non-strict read and write, or transactional. Okay, so depending on the implementations that we just saw, different implementations support different set of caching strategies. So read-only, useful for data that is read frequently but never updated, and simplest and best performing cache strategy. So if your application is pretty much read-only, then this is actually probably the one that you want to use as a strategy. So this is how you are going to specify the in XML file the caching strategy. Okay, cache element like this, and of course you can specify this caching strategy in the source code using the annotation. Okay. Read and write is a good solution if your data needs to be updated, and they of course carry more overhead than read-only caches. Of course, in non-JTA environment, each transaction should be completed with session close or session disconnect. Okay. Okay, and this is how you're going to specify read and write. Nothing much different from read only. And non-strict cache does not guarantee that two transactions owned simultaneously modify the same data, so it may be most appropriate for data that is read often but occasionally modified. And the last one is transactional. So this is the fully transactional cache that may be used only in JTA environment. Okay, so JBoss tree cache is the only one that supports transactional caching strategy. Okay, so let's do exercise 2. So exercise 2, let's actually run this guy first. Okay, let me just change the experimentation I've done. So if you run this code, okay, if you run this code, what you are going to see is we are performing load operation, and there is no database operation here. And then in this case, you can see the second level cache hit count is 2, meaning the entity was retrieved from the second level cache twice. Okay, the number of misses is 0 and the number of put is 0. Okay. And in this case, now we are actually clearing second level cache. So there is nothing in the second level cache. And then we are performing load operation again. Then you can see the select call is made to the database. And then you can see second level miscount is 1. So it reads it here and then save it in both second level cache as well as first level cache. So let me actually explain the code, and then I'll let you. We'll actually do some more experimentation as well. Yeah, first of all, let's actually take a look at all the code that. So this is what we have just observed as a result. Okay, and the code is now you have to configure second level cache in your configuration file. So we are actually using eCache. Okay. And for your mapping file, you are going to specify caching strategy. So for supplier, we're going to actually read only supplier. So we don't have to change, we don't have to set this one for product, but we're going to actually do both. So caching strategy is read and write. Okay, and this is for collection. And for product, we're going to actually do the same thing. Caching usage is read and write. Okay, now this is the main code. So this, what we are going to do is this. So what happens is that when you are actually doing select call, it will be cached in both first and second level cache. Okay, so now we are going to actually enable statistics. So statistics will be captured from this point. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is we are going to clear first level cache. Okay. And then we are going to, the goal of this exercise is to see what's happening in the second level cache. So that's the reason, we want to actually remove things from the first level cache so that the second level cache is being used. So in this case, the second level cache is going to be used. So we are going to load first, okay? And so because second level cache has this, by the way, we are just retrieving a single the supplier object whose object ID is 1. Okay, so this time it will read from second level cache. Okay, now once it read from the second level cache, it will save in the first level cache here at this point. Okay, and so next time you're loading it, it's going to load it from the first level cache instead of the second level cache. Okay. All right, now here we are going to evict the first level cache. So now if you load again, it will read from the second level cache. So that's the reason now we are actually displaying the statistics. So up to this point, what you're actually seeing is this guy. So second level cache is hit twice. Okay, because this time it's getting from second level cache. This one is getting from the first level cache, and now because we evict this first level cache, we are actually getting from the second level cache again. Okay, so that's why we are getting 2. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to clear the first level cache as well. so the second level cache. So we are clearing everything from the second level cache. Okay. And now before we do that, let's actually do. Let's do that exercise later on. Okay. So what I was gonna do is I was gonna actually evict this one over here. Okay. So in that case, it's going to actually increase to 3. Okay. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to clear all the second level cache. Okay. Now when we actually read it here, now it's going to read from the first level cache, right? Because the first level cache now should have an entity, right? And then we are going to so this is exactly the same code as here. Okay. The only difference is that we actually clear all the second level cache. Okay, so I'm going to show that code in a minute. Okay, so second level cache is all cleared out. Okay, so this one is going to get the first level cache, and then it's going to so both of these will actually get the first level cache because first level cache has it, and then we are going to evict even from the first level cache. Now we are going to call this guy. Now because the neither first level and the second level has the entity, this one will cause select. So that's what you are going to see here. Okay, so in this case, this is 2 that is coming from here, and it is missed once, and then it retrieved it, and then we save it here. So 2 on 1. Okay. Now the exercise, what we are going to do is the modification that I want you to try is let's actually do in this case the first time. Okay, so in this case, we are going to evict this entity even here. Okay. All right, so in this case, the entity is in the second level cache, but because we are evicting from the first level cache, so in this case, let's see what happens. If you run it, you can see it is actually getting from second level cache only because each time we evict from the first level cache. Okay, and the rest of the operation is pretty much the same. Okay, now in terms of the clearing up the second level cache, so basically we get all the meta class in the session factory, and then we are evicting entity from the second session factory. Okay, so this is a way that you are clearing up all the entities in the second level cache. Okay. And this is the statistics. There is actually statistics object, which you can call the bunch of statistics related method. And here we are basically displaying only the hit count, miss count, and put count. In the pom.xml file, because we are using ecache, we have to actually have that dependency. Okay. All right. So that is exercise 2. I'm going to give you about 15 minutes to try this exercise. So query cache is a third type of cache. So the query cache, the difference between query cache from the other two, the first level and second level cache, is, as we talked about, this is actually for caching query and its result. It's not really caching object. Okay, so by the way, it's always used with the second level cache. So this is an example. Suppose we have created a query of this from person is P. This is actually the query object, and then we are setting these positional parameters. Okay, and then you are going to set this query as a cacheable. So when you set cacheable true, it will be cached in query cache. Okay. And so the query cache at this point will cache the combination of queries, so this one, and the values that you specify for these positional parameters, and the result. Okay. So basically, it will just get the So basically, the caching the query and its parameters. Okay, so let's do exercise 3. So this is for query cache. So let's take a look at the lab documentation. So here what we are going to do is we are going to actually try with a case where query cache is not enabled. So we're going to try with the disabled first. Okay, so let's say disabled. And when you run the application, you're going to see it's actually performing the query operation, the select operation to the database. Okay, in fact, 4 of them. Okay, so you can see the query has not been. So yeah, so we actually have this select statement, and you can run this application at the command line. So if you take a look at the code, okay. So we are going to actually perform the same query 3 times. Here, and here, and here. And each time is actually going to go to the database. Okay, because this query has not been cached. Alright? So there is nothing that, that says this query is cached. So now, to 3.3, we are going to enable this cache. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to add these 3 lines of properties. So you have to use with the second level cache. So this is the same the configuration that we have for the eCache. And the thing that you are going to add relevant to query cache is this: Hibernate cache use query cache true. Okay. And then in your main code, you have to actually call, for each query, you have to, for query object, you have to call set cacheable to true. Okay. Well, actually, in this case, we probably just need once, okay, because we are, using the same query anyway, right? So the second and third probably is not needed. Now, when you run the application, now you can see the first time it made a query, it will be cached, and from this point on, it will not, perform. It will not incur the select statement to the database. Okay. All right, so I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to try this. Okay. This is probably not needed. Let's see whether it works the same way. If I remove it, then it's interesting. Okay. Okay, so the last one is Hibernate statistics. So Hibernate provides the statistics, the object. So you can call get statistics method from session factory, and then you can get the statistics object, and that actually captures your statistics. And it does have a bunch of the statistical information. Or you can actually, you can get the statistics information through JMX, but here we're going to actually work on statistics object. So statistics interface so provides a number of metrics from very basic to specialized information only relevant to certain scenarios. So like let's say session usage, such as the number of open sessions and the retrieved JDBC connections, matrix related to entities, collections, queries, and caches, and detailed matrix related to particular entity, collection, query, and cache region. So if you just search for statistics, just Google the Google statistics API, Hibernate statistics. Then you can actually see statistics API. And you can see lots of statistical information. Okay, entity load count, entity names, flush count, all executed query strings, execution count, and also second level cache. This is something that we used when we find out the second level cache is being used or not. Okay, so second level cache, the hit, miss, and put. Okay, so in the so basically you are going to get the statistics object, and then you just call this method. Okay, so let's do exercise 4. So exercise 4 is basically the same query cache enabled code, and here we are going to display a bunch of statistics. Okay, so let's run this guy. So we are displaying the time, global number of collections fetched, query cache hit, and entity fetch count, how many times entities fetched from the database. We are not dealing with any second level cache here, and the entity, all the entities of the session factory, and how many times that particular entity has been changed. So in this case, product has been changed just once. Okay, so I'll give you guys a few minutes to try this exercise, and that is the end of the presentation.